right, well, today we have a very inspirational guest with us. We have Linda Tellington Jones, who is internationally recognized as an equine expert who developed the Tellington method approach of healing, training, and communicating that can be learned and practiced by animal lovers all over the world. She was honored with the 1994 Horseman of the Year by the North American Horsemen's Association and presented with the ARICP Lifetime Achievement Award. So that's given annually to a person who is profoundly affecting the equine world in a positive manner. Linda is an author of numerous books and DVD programs, including her best-selling The Ultimate Horse Behavior and Training book, and she routinely travels the world teaching her methods. When she's not on the road, she's living in Hawaii. So thank you so much, Linda, for joining us.
My pleasure.
We have Linda with us, and she is in her backyard, her gorgeous backyard.
Well, actually, this is a backyard in Silver Spring, Maryland, from Pam Wanvier, where I give a training for dogs each year. So I just finished mine, and I'm here in her backyard.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice. In Maryland, that's right. Okay. Right. Very cool. Well, I'm so glad you're here talking with us. I know you have a ton you could help us with. You're really well known worldwide, and so I really appreciate you spending the time with us.
My pleasure, always.
Yeah, so just to go into it, our topic of keeping the animal athlete first and the sport second, what are just some tips of just maybe like a daily routine you recommend for either a dog, or especially dog or horse, of just keeping like a good bond between the two of you?
Well, you know, I one of the things that I get in workshops, whether it's with companion animals, with dogs, certainly with kitties, and with horses, is how can I have a better connection with my horse or dog? Right. And that is where this wonderful 1 1/4 T-touches, just moving in gently with T-touch, to connect cell to cell and soul to soul. And it's really interesting. I just want to give you like a typical story first, if I may, about the connection. So I have a friend in Germany who bought a 2-year-old Haflinger, and they had a really fabulous bond. And she was doing something called The Art of Academic Riding. Have you ever heard of it? It's by Bent Vanderup.
Art of Academic Writing. No, I haven't read that one. So yeah.
Well, he's from Denmark, and it's spread all over the world actually. But I, believe it or not, hadn't heard of it either. So my friend brought her horse to me, and said she brought an Icelandic, and she said she wanted him just to be able to, he is really an athlete, and they do some wonderful work, but she wanted him to really like her. To be able to connect with him in another way. So I showed her the stuff with this horse. And then she said, but I have another horse at home that she had bought when he was 2 years old, this Haflinger, and they'd had this really great connection. And then she started to ask too much of him as an athlete. Some of this work that they do is just very precise, working with muscles and the movements that they make.
Right.
And so I just showed her some of the T-touch, and the story that she came back to me like 3 days later is that she had, when this horse was maybe, I think he was 8, she had gotten to the point that he couldn't do any more of what she was asking.
I see.
It was just too much of a challenge for a Haflinger with the muscling that he had.
Yeah, and just the confirmation and all that.
Exactly. And so she had become really angry with him, and that's not who she is. And that's the last thing she wanted to do. So she loaned him to a friend for endurance riding, and kept him in the same stable, but he loved endurance riding. So he did this for a couple of years. So she went home after me working with her Icelandic horse, and just started to just connect with him, just moving the skin, like in 1 1/4 all over his body. And she said, after about 20 minutes of this, just exploring, working around his body, he suddenly just like completely shifted. And they had this heart-to-heart relationship that she had been missing. And that's one of the things that T-Touch does, is give you, we call it cell-to-cell and heart-to-heart. Sorry, cell-to-cell and soul-to-soul, because it really connects at another level.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story too. So you're just saying, just it's almost like grooming, but more of just a more minimal touch.
No, it's not grooming at all. It's not grooming and it's not massage. It literally is moving the tissue and just putting your hands on and very lightly moving the tissue in one circle and a quarter. And we do this in like long lines along the body, just like running either parallel to the spine or perpendicular. It's very simple to do.
That's really cool. So then the horse was more willing to do more work, or was it
more willing and more and interested and connected? That's the word that so many people are looking for, is connected. How can we really have this, heart to heart, mind to mind connection? And that's what Tellington T-Touch does.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I know you're really well known for that too. I saw it. Quite a few of the videos you have online, and people do that all over the world. So that's amazing. It seems to work really well. So.
It does.
That's cool.
So your primary interest is in athletes, is that right? Athletic horses?
Athletes. We're just bringing the animal first over the sport. So we're just trying to talk about how we could help build better bonds and get further in our sport with our animals. I mean, dogs and horses, because it's amazing how much it goes between the two of them.
That's right. So, I mean, it's interesting because what you're talking about that many people are looking for is this fairness with horses. How can you handle them in a fair way, in a way that they can respond and do what you're asking to do?
Or else.
For me, what's important for me, Kelly, is that I want the horse to have as a good a time with me as I have with them. Mm-hmm. And that really does mean being fair and asking him to do things in ways that that's possible, and working without punishment.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a bit of a different concept, actually.
Right.
Because, in the horse world, if a horse doesn't do something that we ask them to do, so often there's a blame that's involved. Mm-hmm. And what we do is primarily show the horse what it is that we want them to be able to do in a way that's possible. So it's we have this, the way we create this is by working on different parts of the body, because one of the resistances that horses have is this thing of like refusing to do something we ask them to do, right? Mm-hmm. When it's too difficult. And so instead of just getting after them, to wait a minute, how can we bring this horse more into their body to give them a better sense of themselves so that they can be more athletic, that they can move in a more balanced way.
Like confident, more confident.
More confidence, yes, and balance. And when we talk about balance with Tellington T-Touch method, we're talking about not just the physical balance, but the mental and the emotional balance. And that's what we're able to get by giving them a new sense of their body in this way. So, like, take a horse who's fearful. You can really affect their level of confidence by bringing the head down. And I'll send you maybe a couple of pictures that you can add to this to get an idea. But by bringing the head down and actually doing T-Touch on the ears. And you think, wait a minute, how does that get a horse to be more willing, more trusting? Because it's a touch of trust. And when you bring the horse's head down, and not too low, because we don't want that. We don't want the nose below the chest, because once they go, if they go too low, it's like they go away. They're just not present anymore. So we want like the pole a little lower than the withers. And then you just hold the halter with one side and take from the base of the ear, you do a circular touch at the base, and then a slide out to the end of the ear. And you do several on one side, and then change hand on the halter and pull a little against, like if I'm sliding on the ear to my left, I pull with my hand to the right. And it's amazing what this can do in terms of getting the horse to trust.
That's amazing. I want to try that like today.
Do it. We have a lot of people who do it. And it's also, if you have a horse that's in trouble, a horse that has been injured, or a horse is colicking, while you're waiting for your vet to get there, if you do this T-touch on the ears, it helps the digestion and the respiratory system. And so, or if you can't get your vet, for some reason you can't get there, because this happens in some parts of the country where it's really hard, right, you can regulate the temperature and the pulse and respiration while you're waiting for veterinary help.
To help
it's astounding how that works for both horses and dogs and people, actually.
So it works on dogs just as well.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. So is there any particular place that is more sensitive than others? Like you say, the ears is a good place to go.
Well, right. One of the reasons for working the ears is the fact that around the base of the ear is the triple heater meridian, and that affects the digestive system and the respiratory system. And the other place is the mouth. If you've got a horse that's like resistant or overreactive, you can actually work that like around the outside of the lips and work and just go under the upper lip and the gum.
Right.
You don't need to put your hand in the mouth. It's just like outside, all around the lips and the chin, and then under the upper lip. And what that does is affect the part of the brain that controls your emotions. So for what we call a stubborn, which I see as like an inflexibility, you can bring a horse to a place of cooperation and calmness by working on the mouth in this way.
Interesting.
So and also the nostrils, interestingly enough. So what the nostril work does is just make them more accepting, more willing, more cooperative.
Mm-hmm. That's, I can definitely see that too, because even with, I know a lot of people use bits for their training with horses, and when they're stiff mouthed and they're not moving and have salivating, it's showing they're really tense and they're not thinking. They're very, just tense in general, but just having them moving their mouth, that makes them relax. Like,
right.
So that thing is helping relax that.
Exactly. And the chin. Because when you know how, if you'll observe, if a horse gets like resistant or tense, the chin gets really hard.
Really tense,
Just do these little circles around the chin. That helps to take them from that state of resistance, of fight flight, of the sympathetic nervous system, and gets them to relax into the parasympathetic, which is the state of rest and recovery, and ability to connect and cooperate with us. That's very exciting.
That is really cool. Really cool. So you recommend maybe just starting off, even just like, their mouth or their ears?
Well, I recommend that you start somewhere where it's easy, like on the shoulder and the neck, where it's easy, so that the horse starts to trust you, and that because it's not sliding over the skin. That does not affect cell function. And you don't need to know this in order to be successful with this work, but what's really happening is that when we move the tissue, just slightly, it's not massage, it's not deep work at all, it's just moving the tissue, that we activate the cell function. Because when there's fear in the horse or tension or, that what happens, it's like the connection, the communication between the cells is actually disturbed or interrupted, or if there's injury. And by this very gentle, you try it on your own arm, you hold with the thumb and move the tissue in 1 1/4 circles. And what that does is bring them to a place where they can actually think instead of reacting.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I think I'm going to try it today. I'm going to go out to the barn at my horse and I'm going to go see how it goes, and also for my dogs. Yeah, that's great. I really want to try it.
Think of another place that shows the emotions of the horse. It's the tail, right? Look
Yeah.
at the tail.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if that tail is up and the horse is snorting, man, that's an
Right.
interesting. Or if the tail is tucked or clamped.
Right.
So simply by doing what we call tail T-touch and working the tail in various gentle ways to bring them a new awareness, what that does is actually work on the emotional centers of the brain. And you can take them away from that place of fear or fight or flight and
Right.
bring them to a place of thinking, of the parasympathetic.
That's smart too. So you recommend just doing the T-touch on the tail and moving them around and helping them relax. That's great. That's
Exactly.
yeah.
And the same goes for dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same for dogs.
It's true because they tuck their tails, when they're upset too, and it is amazing how much it crosses over between the two species.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, if we had tails, it would be the same for us, but unfortunately, lips, no ears, same thing. And we can do ear slides on ourselves and help to get that state of a deep sense of relaxation and connection.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So that's definitely a great tip too. And so even for, you would say like, let's just say in a hypothetical situation, it's a high pressure, like you're in a show or something like that. The
Right.
T-touch you say will help bring them to calm down. Do you recommend anything else that can help? Like say they're pretty wound up, and you're trying to just bring them back.
The quickest thing, I'll give you a good example. Actually, examples are always good. So I was, I'm sorry, I was with a horse at a show in Stuttgart, Germany, many years ago, and it was his first indoor show, and that's really different, because it was a huge stadium, and they had like there had to be at least 6,000 seats, and up above the seats was another platform where the lunch carts come along and you can hear them. So this horse, first time indoors, he's in the warm-up ring, and a group of ponies come in to do a pony drill. Well, I'm sure you've seen how some horses react to ponies if they've never seen them. Like, his heart was racing, his head was up, he was really tense. So because he already knew this work, with the rider on him, I just went over to him, lowered his head, and maybe 2 minutes, not more, did these slow ear T-touches on him, like base of the ear, because that affects the triple heater meridian, digestion and respiration, and out to the tips. And he settled, went in the class. So
it's good.
He's at that stage where he's doing a free walk across the arena. Right. And at that point, everything's totally quiet in a dressage class, right? You can hear a pin drop, and across the top goes this lunch wagon, bump, 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 and I think, oh my God. And the horse was completely steady, did not respond at all. He's on a long rein in the free walk. Wow. And that's what can happen when you give your horse a sense of their body. So, because in most cases, you'd hear something, you might tense the tail or just even hold the breath a little, and that activates that flight reflex.
Right.
That doesn't happen when you've done the ear T-touches and you do what we call, it's a slide that you come from the belly, up around the barrel to the back. Okay. We call it the lick of the cow's tongue because it really gives them a sense of their body.
Awesome. Well, those are great tips. And when you're saying going from the belly to their withers or the back?
Well, you actually do these slides perpendicular to the spine. And that perpendicular, and you make, it's kind of like, mowing grass. You do one slide right behind the elbows, then you do the next slide until you go all the way back to the flanks. And that really helps the horse be more supple, be more flexible.
I see. Wow.
And 3 minutes or even 2 minutes on each side, like a pass from the girth area to the flank, 2 times on each side. And when you get on that horse, they'll be very different in terms of already like more supple, more present.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Very cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So just perpendicular to,
Yeah. Yeah.
reverse.
And if you've got a super sensitive horse, you have to do it very lightly. And if you have a horse that really likes contact, you can do it more vigorously. Whatever they like. That's
Okay, so it just either way, it's you can do more pressure or less pressure.
what they like. Yeah, what works for them.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Like I imagine horses that like shy, with ear shy and all that business is a little tougher to do the ears, but I imagine it would. You could.
Well, and if they don't want you touching the ears, you start on the neck, and you just do these like moving the tissue from the shoulder up to the neck, and then stand up on like a mounting block. And when you stand up and you just work on the top of the crest of the neck, and then work up to the ears, it's very much easier.
You probably would notice at that point.
Right.
Wow, that's great. So those are some great tips. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Have you seen any of my books?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen, you're well known. So yes, I have. And the T-Touch is very well known too. So I imagine people listening have heard about the T-Touch at some point too. So it's always good.
Yeah, I'm really blessed because I have one book that's, for, I can't even remember, ultimate behavior. And I can't even remember the name of my big book, which has, it's really funny. I thought you were into dogs from what I read about you, so I brought my dog book down. But yeah, I'm really blessed to have 22 books now in 15 languages.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Even though my background is in horses specifically too, feel free to share more on dogs too, because we've got a lot of listeners who also have dogs. Dog athletes too. For example, my dog in particular she's a hunting dog. So we go like for pheasants, and she likes to go in the fields and things like that. And it's good just to have a good bond, especially when it's long distance, how you try to talk to them a long distance away. Maybe you could give tips on building a relationship for long distance.
It's realizing that when we bring the dog into the body, and it's interesting, I'm going next week to Michigan to do a training with horses. And last year I was there 1 year ago working with, I think that dog is a 12-year-old, really lovely hunting dog, very overly enthusiastic. So it's a problem when like my friend's mother comes, because the dog is like all over her and doesn't feel safe,
Right. Knocked over.
And you can't get knocked over. Actually, one of my friends got knocked over by their hunting dog just from getting and broke her arm, just from playing, not meaning at all to do that. Yeah. So and they've had this dog since she was a puppy, and they never knew that they could actually ask her to just keep 4 feet on the ground, just easy, stay here, just feel yourself. And I mean, literally with this Tellington method, the T-Touch, you can bring that dog into the body, like just circle and hold the shoulders quietly. And at that, in the beginning, I'm going to hook a thumb either in the harness, or if they have a collar on, in the collar, and just stay in your body. And it was so interesting. Like they couldn't believe it, because with this dog, in maybe a total of 3 times, 3 or 4 minutes, she was able to settle and listen. And it's like, it's never with punishment. It's just showing them, wait a minute, what we want. And it's, it's hard, because one of the what I mean by it's hard, it's a challenge in some ways, because if we want to affect the behavior or the performance of our dogs, we need to be the most successful by holding the picture we want. And what is human is to actually see what they always do. Oh, my dog always does this. My dog doesn't listen, all these stories that we have, either about the dog or the horse. And as long as that's the image that we hold, that's what we're supporting. So it's really interesting to say, wait a minute, now, this is what I need you to do. And with our work, we talk to the dogs as though they can understand what we are saying. And that's not out there in the dog world. You hear so much, it's still this militaristic thing, Platz, sit, off. And I just, for people who are really into that, I invite them to read a book by Dr. Emoto called Messages from Water. And Dr. Emoto did studies, fast freezing water in these vials. And on the vials, he would write words, because our energy really affects our animals, dogs, horses, doesn't matter what it is. And what I mean by energy is what the quantum science concept of energy is, that it's every thought we have. Oops. Every belief we have, every emotion, every feeling, that's energy. And so if we want our dogs to be the best at the sports and have a connection with us, be really aware of the words and the thoughts that you have and hold the possibilities. It's called infinite possibilities in quantum science. What is it? Hold the infinite possibility. This is how I would really love you to be. And hold that picture in your mind and bring them into the body, ground them, which is what we do with leg circles for both horses and dogs. And you'd be amazed how you can influence both the behavior and the performance and the well-being and the relationship. And that's our goal with Tellington T-Touch.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Wow. So just going from T-Touch, it can go in so many different areas too. Like you can use it in so many different aspects. So.
Right. Yeah, and it's a little disconcerting because it sounds like it's Tellington T-Touch, that it's only body work. That's only a part of it. We do ground exercise that we call a playground for higher learning, which are different elements that get them focusing, listening, bring them into balance, give them guidelines. And then we have special equipment that we use. And then we have this philosophy. Two things I'll leave you with. One is that if you want to change your animal behavior, performance, well-being, or relationship, you need to change your mind and hold what it is you want rather than what you're seeing, right?
Right.
That's one thing. And the other thing is a really great tip, no matter what you're doing in your sport, is to change, again, the performance. You need to change the posture if you want to affect or change. Because just think about it. If dogs are like overly excited, over alert, where's the tail? Where are the back legs? Are they under them? Where's the head, the level of the head? And when we bring awareness of that
to them
and bring horse or dog, doesn't matter, we can change that behavior.
So as soon as
changing posture.
As soon as you see that, you can just help correct and just position them in the way you'd like them to be. I see, and ground them. Wow.
Show them another possibility for being.
Keeping all 4 feet on the ground. That's great. Well, I appreciate your time today. This has been wonderful having you on here.
Well, I want to just show you, this is my dog book, and I didn't bring any of my horse books. I have a book called Dressage with Body, Mind, and Soul for those into dressage. But the ultimate book it's just a wonderful book because you can take, I have 2 pages that have 103 behaviors that horses have. You just look up the behavior, and then it shows you a page where you can go to either do the body work or the T-Touch or the ground exercises that we do, or the different exercises under saddle and the different equipment that we have, like the balance rein and the promise wrap and riding without bits and the Liberty ring with nothing on the horse's head. So
that's
you can
great.
Get lots of help.
Yeah, so I'll look into that too. That's great. We'll put some links next to you here and for people.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you also put my website? It's just www.ttouch.com.
Sure.
And if you scroll down, take a look at it, scroll to the bottom, and you can see where you can see trainings. Sure. And have the possibility of getting some
absolutely
different ways.
Absolutely, Linda. Well, I appreciate your time. Really, these are great tips, and I think that we learned a ton today for both horses and dogs. So really appreciate your time, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you. And I want to congratulate you, Kelly, for the work you're doing with the Humane Society and all the work that you're doing to help animals in the way that you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Aloha. Ciao.
Good day.